Hi guys, Kyle here at Unstoppable. Today I'm here with Simon Wright, who is the CEO of Nelson's Journey, a fantastic charity helping bereaved children in Norfolk. Simon's going to tell us a little bit about that later on. But we're going to ask some questions, and equally at the end, if you've got any questions for Simon you'd like me to pass on, please let me know and we'll pass those on. So thanks for coming in today, Simon.
Thank you.
Obviously you've just now done a Runner's MOT, so we'll go through kind of some of your biggest achievements really to start off with. So how did you first get into running?
I started running just over 3 years ago. I was having some difficulties in my life. I had a job that I loved that I could no longer do, and I was going through some personal relationship issues at that time as well. I was looking for something new to do, a new hobby, a new activity, a new routine. I sort of thought running was something that I might be able to get into because there's nothing easier than pulling on a pair of shoes and going out. So I looked out for some local running groups and met some new people who enjoyed going out running regularly, went along with them, and for having gone from really no confidence in any running ability at the beginning of that journey to the extent that I wouldn't even go and do the local park run, I was then able to develop over time through meeting new people who were also encouraging and giving myself a bit of routine in life. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. One of the best decisions I've ever made was to start running.
And to be at the level you are, I mean, for those who don't know Simon, obviously he's a well-known local runner, doing half marathon in 78 minutes. So in 3 years to go from no running at all to that sort of pace is incredible. I mean, obviously that's very cool. But equally, obviously, the main thing I think really is the fact that it's helped you through a really difficult patch.
Yeah.
And obviously, my experience with similar kind of emotions of depression, and anxiety years ago, running was a big help for me. It is for a lot of people, obviously as well. So what's been the biggest thing you've gained from running? Would you say?
I think new communities, new friends. I've gained a fiance through running,
okay.
So it's got engaged mid-run, literally.
Oh, wow.
So no, my life has transformed as a result of starting running.
Fantastic. So I would ask what's your proudest achievement, but I guess that's probably
I guess that's it. Yeah.
Certainly on video anyway. Obviously you've got some challenges coming up this year, so obviously trying to do sub 78 minutes for a couple of half marathons. Have you got any other long-term challenges you're looking to achieve with running?
I think for me, part of it is around achieving times and just wanting to see that process of continual improvement. However, I am getting on a bit in years now. I know there will come a time where my times will start to go in the other direction. So one of the long-term goals for me is thinking in how to keep it fresh, how to keep it interesting. There are some good systems out there that can help you to continue to track your progression beyond the point at which you can't bring down those times. So I think it would be a case of looking at the distance side of things and the endurance over time. I've never run a marathon, for example, and whilst it's not in my mind at the moment, I can well see a few years down the line that might be a new challenge that I want to take on. Equally, there are systems like the age gradings that you can look at, so as you get older, you can continue to track that progression. Your times might go down, but your age grading might go up if you're working at it. So, I think in terms of short-term goals, it's very much about continuing to push to improve, to bring down those times that I've managed to achieve across all race distances, and start of every year is a case of sitting down and thinking, what can I realistically achieve over the next 12 months? Right, I've got these times in mind, these are the events that I now need to go and sign up for so that I can try and achieve those. So I've got the calendar sorted for the year. Hopefully I've got those goals sorted for this year. But I'm also looking to increase the mileage as well, because I know that if I want to continue to improve, I need to put more effort in, and that's ultimately is going to come from racking up the miles and quality miles as well. So thinking about what I'm doing, why I'm going out for each run that I'm doing, and how that's contributing to my own improvement.
So you've got a really well planned out and very well thought out process that you go through. And I mean, what's your biggest tip, would you say, for trying to make sure that all happens? Obviously, being very busy as you are with family, with your own personal goals, and also professionally as well, being a CEO of a charity. There's a lot going on for you. I mean, how do you fit it all in?
It's incredibly important to prioritise it and just make it whether you want to run a couple of times a week, 3 times a week, or every day, to have clearly in mind what your routine is going to look like to get out. So at the moment, I've got myself a training plan, which I know. Then I look to that. I think I've got to do that run at that. I might not be able to do it at that particular time because life gets in the way. Of course it does. But if I've not done it then I need to think, well, how am I going to reorganise the rest of my day so that I can get that in? It might mean getting up early one morning because I've not been able to do that evening run that I had in my schedule. But I think as long as you keep it there as a priority, something that you really want to achieve, and then you can plan that into your day, and it's a bit of a cliche, but however busy you are, if there's something that you've identified as important, you'll make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I mean, I think it is something a lot of people have, that I really want to run, I really want to do this. I mean, I've done it myself as well, and we haven't prioritised necessarily as well as we could have done. I don't tend to use the word should, because I think should is potentially very pressuring, but we could have done better. We could always do better, ultimately. So obviously you said that you got into running and you didn't necessarily want to do park runs at the start. So how did you first go to a club and they sort of took you along, or did you just go to a couple of runs, go for a park run or something?
I was searching online, as you do, to what possibilities there were for people going into running, and I noticed that there was a group that met up in the city centre. They had a beginners group that was going out on Tuesday evenings, I think it was, and then they also had Thursday opportunities as well. Quite informal, but it was a chance to go along, to join up with a group of people who, I thought might well just encourage me along. So although I didn't have the confidence to do a timed event like a park run at that time, I did have the confidence to meet up with others and try and get that encouragement and that routine as well, knowing that they were meeting on the same day. And when you get to know people, there then becomes that expectation, you will see such and such on those evenings. So you almost get that sort of social, not pressure as such, but an expectation, that you'll be there and you'll turn out and you'll join everyone else who's going out. And through that, meeting people who also had their own routines and runs, and then tagged along with them on Sunday morning long runs and things like that. Pretty soon, you catch the bug, you then want to do your park runs. Every single Saturday now, pretty much, I'll be out doing a park run, whichever part of the country or even the world, if they have it. I've done the Paris park run, which was great, awesome. Although interestingly a much smaller turnout than we're used to in Norwich. But they're everywhere, and you end up finding these routines, these little parts of your week that you want to stick to with your running. But it all started with finding a group of people who are going to provide that encouragement for me in the early days.
Excellent. So in terms of, obviously, runners come across injuries, are there any you've come across that you've either struggled to get past, or if you've come across any, how have you got past them?
Yeah, I've had a few niggles, particularly in the early days. I think I got so into it so early, I was doing it more than my body was prepared to do. So I was picking up the odd niggle, the odd knee injury, for example. Something which I never struggle with now. My body is a lot stronger and a lot more used to doing the miles. But in those early days, there were a few niggles that would come along. I found it very difficult to learn the lesson that when you're in pain, it's a sign to stop quite often. So I would often, in those early times, train through it, make it worse. I've had an ankle issue as well, which sort of comes on a bit, but no, I think the most important thing is to rest if you know that your body is being pushed beyond that point. In the early days, in those enthusiasms, that's a very hard judgment to make, but fortunately with experience it does come a bit easier.
Excellent. I'm really glad you said that, because a lot of people do try and overtrain and do push past injuries. I know I did years ago when I was very young and first got into running. I was like, oh, this hurts a bit, it's fine, just keep pushing past, and it's just distance today. So using that kind of, using your knowledge, and I guess you're saying long-term experience, to know this is something I need to stop, or I need to take a day off or so. And
knowing yourself as well, and knowing your own body, and also speaking to professionals and experts on those injuries, and not necessarily listening to the first person that you speak to, who might not necessarily be the most qualified person to speak to, and sort of be cautious of taking advice on Facebook, for example. Go to a pro if it's looking like it could be a serious problem.
Yeah, I think it is definitely a part of it. Obviously, runners are very keen, we're enthusiastic, we want to share our knowledge with people, and I hear it at club often where people are like, oh, I've got this bit ache, I'll do this, but that might not be necessarily the right course of action. So definitely seeing a professional, whether it be a chiropractor, osteopath, physiotherapist, or some sort of massage therapist, if not, to get whatever it is diagnosed or fixed, certainly, or some sort of treatment plan in place. and then obviously working with that treatment plan, not just kind of getting okay, I'll do a couple of those, and as soon as it feels better, going, oh, that's great, it's fine, we'll just crack on again. It's kind of working through that over a period of time. So, obviously, running is a big part of how you raise money for charity, obviously, in particular.
Yeah.
So, what's the best way we can kind of raise money for charities through running them?
There are so many great running events out there. So soon after I joined a charity, it was also the first year of Run Norwich, and Nelson's Journey were one of the supported charities in that first event. Lots of people signed up to raise money through sponsorship and to take part in the running event. For many people in Norwich, that was actually the first ever running event they took part in, and to have the focus of a charity to raise funds for as well as part of their objective was very motivating for a lot of those runners. I mean, those who are in the sort of running community, it's almost becomes quite blasé. You just turn up Sunday after Sunday to do a race. But for a lot of people, that first one in particular is a massive deal. So having lots of objectives, not just running objectives, but also the just taking part and the raising money for charity can be a really big part of the experience. We've also had several people who've used the London Marathon, for example, whether or not they've secured an official charity place or whether they've entered through the ballot and then have decided that they want to support a charity through their place too. So lots of the events that are out there obviously can be used to support charity through sponsorship. But also it's fantastic when businesses such as your own, Kyle, will put on challenges and opportunities for people to take part in either a training activity or coaching activity, whilst also giving a bit back to a charity. And for Nelson's Journey, the money that's raised in the community is absolutely crucial to what we can do. We're supporting ever more bereaved children and young people every single year as we become better known as a charity, but we're not funded by government, we're not funded by councils. We do need the community to support us, and the running community has been particularly fantastic in helping out.
So I'm guessing with your own club, Norwich Road Runners, has been, I imagine, particularly
absolutely.
Well-known, well-established club, one of the largest clubs in Norwich, if not the largest, isn't it? And obviously, you being a well-known member of that club as well, definitely raises the profile.
Absolutely. Norwich Road Runners have been brilliant. So a couple of years ago, they chose Nelson's Journey as a charity to support through refreshment sales done through the Wroxham 5K series, raising hundreds and hundreds of pounds for the charity. So that was absolutely brilliant. It was actually shortly before I joined the running club that they were able to present that money to me for the charity. So it's quite good to have made that connection.
Absolutely, and obviously the runs during the summer, aren't there as well? The Wroxham 5K, so it's very hot days and definitely need a drink. So excellent stuff though. So in terms of trying to bring, are you trying to bring the two things closer together? You're trying to bring your own running passion and Nelson's Journey closer?
Yeah, and I think there's lots of opportunities to do that. So we as a charity are looking at how we can support those runners who have signed up to an event, so that they can support us through their place, perhaps through sponsorship. So we're providing all sorts of support in terms of tips and ideas to support sponsorship. What sort of you can do as a runner to increase your fundraising potential. We produce a fundraising pack that's now available, so anyone who's thinking of running and raising money for Nelson's Journey, please get in contact with us. We'd be really happy to provide that sort of pack of resources, but also supporting you in other ways as we go along. But none of us are professional runners and professional coaches, so we wouldn't necessarily advise on the training side of things, but in terms of fundraising, there's a fantastic team at Nelson's Journey who are willing and enthusiastic to support those runners who've chosen to support our work.
Fantastic, excellent. So what is the one thing you would say then is your biggest tip to help other runners, so maybe somebody who's watching this who maybe has a certain goal in mind or has an injury, what is the one thing you would say has been most helpful for you throughout your running or 3 years of running?
I think having that routine is absolutely crucial. How you do that, whether you do it as on your own or whether you do it as a group, for me, I think going out as a group and using that as part of the routine for running is absolutely vital. So I've joined the running club, Norwich Road Runners, as you've mentioned. I've been a member there for a couple of years now. They've got club nights throughout the week and other sessions, and you also meet other runners and other opportunities emerge to go out and join those people outside the club nights too. So join a group, join a running club. I find that's been a very good way of keeping that motivation and that routine going. But at the end of the day, it's having that routine in place that I think helps you to achieve the objectives that you've set out for yourself.
Fantastic, and I would definitely agree. I mean, for me, running on and off for the years, the biggest thing for me has been running with a club. Is that social accountability, and there is that more set out kind of profile to work through, and program to kind of crack on with really. So no, fantastic. Thank you very much for coming in, Simon.
Thank you,
pleasure to
guys.
sit down and talk with you, and thank you for doing the interview as well. So if you've got any questions for Simon, either about sponsoring, working with Nelson's Journey, or if you want to ask Simon any questions about his experience of getting to towards sub 78 minute half marathon, please feel free to pass on the message to me. I'll get in contact with Simon and we'll get back to you. Cheers guys, see you soon.